Food photography is the merging of three art forms: propping, cooking, and finally photography. So let's start at the base. Let's start at what do we put down on the tabletop to begin making food photography. There are three basics that I use. One is stone. So it's marble or granite, usually in grays and whites. What is it about white marble that's difficult to work with in a studio or particularly on location? It's really heavy. So I have here what is mimicking marble. It is just a thin piece of vinyl that's been painted. This is a great solution because it's light and it's versatile. You can take it with you, and there's a number of different ways that these can be constructed or painted to mimic different types of marble. The other two options that I seem to lean on most heavily are different types of woods. So here I have two different types of wood on these breadboards. One is dark wood and one is light wood. With these three palettes, you have a really great selection to begin your food photography. And honestly, if you are struggling for space or you need to take things around that are mobile, things that are this small and in this color palette are going to be the most versatile for you to continue to build great food photography from the ground up. What I want you to understand about plating is that size and finish matter. So this plate, for example, is wrong for two reasons. Well, actually three. One, it's shiny. When you have a shiny plate, what you're doing is you're competing for light and you're competing for reflections. What you want to do in food photography is eliminate any reflections. You also want to eliminate any shine. Those two things kind of compete with your food. The second concept with a plate like this is size. This plate is usually too big for most applications in food photography. What I want you to understand is that in food photography, we're consistently sizing down. This plate also has a third problem. It has a lip on it. And what that does is it creates shadowing inside the plate. So now we have lights and shadows that we can't control. And of course, what is photography if it's not for light and shadows or the controlling of light and shadows? So a plate like this is going to be really difficult to manage light and shadows on. So I'm going to explain to you how this works with a simple demonstration. First, we're going to take this plate and I'm going to get this apple and I'm going to put it on here. So now I'll let you see this through the phone because it's going to be really important to understand that through the camera, you can kind of see all these reflections. You can see me. Hello, there I am. I'm in the frame. That's a problem. You can also see that depending on where I move, all of this shine is competing with everything I'm doing. The second part is scale. So if I were to put this apple in the middle of the plate and I wanted to take a close-up picture of the apple, I would go down to here and I'm having a hard time understanding the scale because the edge of the plate is so far away. So this is why we're having a problem with something this small on a plate this big. So I'm going to trade out to another plate, and I want you to understand the same apple on a different plate, making better choices will make for a better photograph. In the very same scenario with a different plate, I'm going to show you that now you can't see me in the photo anymore. The scale is much better. I can actually get closer and see the edge of the plate. The idea that we've solved a number of problems in this situation, a number of photographic problems, by simply switching the plate is another example of why propping is so important in food photography. Some of the other materials that you can use to plate food effectively are things like wood. Obviously, wood is not reflective, so this is really helpful. Plus, it gives a really natural, warm, rustic look to a lot of foods. Another material that's really important and essential to food photography is metal. It really has the ability, especially when it's not shiny, to make food jump off the screen. It helps you reflect light without creating distractions. Some of the things that are really helpful to have in your studio or in your kitchen when you're working with food are small little bowls and plates, and I'll show you why. These little bowls and plates can create an amazing little composition and create repetition and give you the opportunity to frame subjects and use negative space and also act as accents to your compositions. Let's put these aside for a second, and I want you to understand something about glassware. What I want to talk about with glassware in food photography is about the idea of framing. So I have two different types of glassware here. I have a stemless wine glass and a wine glass with a stem. Now, the idea of why I make these choices has to do with the frame I'm looking to create. If I know my frames are going to be vertical or primarily vertical, I have the option to use either of these. But if I know for a fact, because I'm working for a newspaper that's going to be running it online in a horizontal frame, then I'm only going to use stemless wine glasses. So these kinds of choices really make a difference. Now, one other thing, both of those glasses are clear. If you're gonna show wine in the glass, you wanna see what color it is, especially if you're a beverage photographer or your client happens to be a winery or a bar where the color of the drink is really important. That doesn't mean we can't use other colored glassware, but it has to come into play with the choices you're making in terms of your propping and the food you're going to be putting in them. Another example of this is bringing color into your frame. So what colors you choose to pull into your frame should highlight what you're doing, should accent the foods, and not be a distraction. Finally, the all-important artfully thrown napkin. This is something that some art directors cannot stand, others cannot live without. One of the things you should understand about linen in general is that it's overused in food photography because people are afraid of negative space. When you're using linens in food photography, make sure they have a purpose. So for example, if I were picking up this pan and putting it on a table, I might just leave the napkin there because that would be natural to do if that pan was hot. But if I put this pan here and this is just sort of laying out here somewhere, that's not really helpful. So it's important to understand that the purpose of your napkin or your linen in your frame is going to make a difference to the storytelling. The other idea of these is that this one in particular, which I'm very fond of, and it's the reason being is that if you can tell, everything on my table is really neutral, and the color in your frame should come from the food. But if something is kind of drab and needs a lot of color, or let's say you're shooting something brown or green that's sucking up the light, adding a pop of color to your frame can be a really great way to rescue a photo. So understanding how to build and craft and construct your compositions is going to help you learn and grow and continue to become a great food photographer. This video was a free preview of the iPhone Food Photography online course. In this course, you'll discover everything you need to know to start your new adventure as a food photographer. We will go over the foundations of food photography and how to use them in a variety of applications, from advertising to stock photography. We will meet incredible people, and with them, we'll explore Sicilian food, traditions, and much, much more. If you'd like to learn more about food photography, please take a look at the full version of iPhone Food Photography. You'll find the link in the description right next to this video. So join the movement by clicking on that link right now, and I'll see you inside the full version of the course.